We're learning the Sicha on Chai Elul in Chelek Yutes on page 250. This shir is being learned Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Rabbi Menashe Koltman. In the Sicha from Chai Elul Tafshin Hey. The Sicha of the Frierdiker Rebbe in the year Tafshin Hey, 1945, hat Kvei Kedushas Mori V'chomi Admor gesagt, the Frierdiker Rebbe said as follows. By Chassidim is Faran an alte Chassidische Wort. Chassidim have an old Chassidische saying in zwei Aussprachen, and it's in two different expressions. Aleph, one is Chai Elul is the Tag was hat gebracht und bringt a Leben in Elul. Chai Elul is the day that has brought and does bring life, vitality into the month of Elul. And Beis, another way this was expressed is Chai Elul getachayis and the Ravede von Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li. Chai Elul is the day that gives life to the Aveda of the month of Elul, which is hinted in Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li, which is the Rosh Tevis of Elul. Von dem was Kvei Kedushas Mori V'chomi Admor hat Ibe gesagt, beiden is chayis. So the Frierdiker Rebbe repeated both of these versions of the sayings of the power of the day Chai Elul, how it influences the whole month. Is move on as is an beidais gehalten. So it's understood that both of these expressions are acceptable, and the Frierdiker Rebbe is repeating it. Und in jeder Nusach is da an Oiftu im Teichen legabe dem Zweiten. And each one of these versions is saying something different than what the other is. If it's just a repetition, then he wouldn't say both. Darf man verstehen? So the question here is, noch dem wie es wird gesagt in dem ersten Nusach, after he says in the first version of this expression, as Chai Elul bringt a Leben in Elul stam, that the day of Chai Elul brings life to Elul. Elul without specifying what an Elul he is referring to. Meinta, so then what that means is, as es bringt a Leben in alle, in Yonei Elul, that it brings life, vitality into all matters of Elul. Kail, the Yisayridus of alle Sugim and Avedis Hashem from dem Chaydish. So this includes an inspiration for all different aspects and levels of serving Hashem that are here in this month. And the Rebbe here brings what this month, what the Aveda of this month includes. The various different aspects of the Aveda are all hinted, as mentioned many times in the Rosh Tevis von Elul. And the Rosh Tevis of the word, of the name of the month Elul. The first is Ina liyadei v'samti lach, which refers to a person Ina liyadei, that an accident occurred and he killed somebody. V'samti lach, so Hashem says, I place you, Arei Mikla, the cities of refuge. So this hints to the Aveda of Torah. A Yid learns Torah, the Torah is a city of refuge. Kamayim Chazal, as the Gemara says, Divrei Torah Kailton. The words of Torah are like the cities of refuge that absorb this individual. They absorb a person that learns Torah. Then, Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li, Kavan Aveda. So this, the fact that a Yid is connected to Hashem, to my beloved, this is the Aveda of davening, Tefillah. Was is Mechaber Yidin mit Neivischen. Through davening, one connects to Hashem. Ani L'Deidi Geime. Then the third Rosh Tevis of Elul is Ishleri Eyu Umatanis Lav Yainim. A man to his fellow, and he gives him the Matanis Lav Yainim, which is in the Megillah. Gemilas Chasadim. This is the mitzvah of Gemilas Chasadim. On Umalavai Lekecha Es Levavcha Ve'es Levav Zarecha. That one should circumcise his heart and the heart of his descendants, which is in Yinat Tshuva. A person that does Tshuva is circumcising his heart and connecting to Hashem through Tshuva. So these are all the different aspects of the Aveda of Elul. So when we say that Chai Elul gives Chayas to the month of Elul, without specifying, it includes everything. If so, was gitzu nachdem the zweite Nusach? What does the second version add when it says as Chai Elul gita Chayas and the Ravede von Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li? That Chai Elul gives life, energy, vitality, specifically to one of these Avedas, which is Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li. Was is blaze ein sug Aveda? It's only one of these ways of serving Hashem. From the sugim velachazanamerum and Rosh Tevis von Elul, of all the different various aspects of serving Hashem hinted in the month of Elul, or in the name of the month Elul. We can answer as follows: as the zwei nuschayis wegen der Oiftu von Chai Elul, the two versions about what the accomplishment of the day Chai Elul is, seine behesem zu die zwei meiles von dem Tag. It's corresponding to the two great things that there are in this day, als der Yom Ledes von die Shnei am Ha'oris Agdalim. The fact that the day Chai Elul is the birthday of the two great luminaries. Borrowing the term of Ha'oris Agdalim that it says regarding creation when you had the sun and the moon, which were originally both two great luminaries. Yom Ledes from the Baal Shem Tov, Chai Elul is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov, Miyasid from Teres Achsidus HaKlolis, the founder of Chassidus in general. and Yom Haledes from the Alten Rebbe, and also the birthday of the Alter Rebbe, Meyasid from Teres Chassidus Chabad, the founder of Chassidus Chabad. So what's the general difference between Chassidus HaKlalis, Chassidus in general, and then the addition of the Alter Rebbe that founded Chassidus Chabad? So Chassidus Chabad, Afapi, as he is a hemshech from Chassidus HaKlalis, although it is a continuation, developing and bringing down further the general innovation of Chassidus, the Chiddush of Chassidus that the Baal Shem Tov brought into the world. Arabtrag Teres Chassidus, as the word Chabad indicates, the idea of Chassidus Chabad is to bring down those things of Chassidus, and Anoifen as Yizal werden verständlich in Chachme, Bine, Das, Seichel Adam, to bring it down to a person's understanding, the various different aspects of a person's intellect. So in that sense, the idea of Chassidus Chabad is not anything new for itself. It's just bringing down the ideas of Chassidus HaKlalis that it should come, that a person should understand it in his intellect. Hatzi a Chiddush miyuchad legabi Chassidus HaKlalis. However, there's also a unique innovation, or something uniquely new that the Alter Rebbe founded in Chassidus Chabad, more than the Chassidus HaKlalis. Va'ad kedei kach is the Chiddush, and this new accomplishment of Chassidus Chabad is so powerful as the Tzuat sich gefadet that it was necessary as their meyasid umegalef in Chassidus Chabad that the Alter Rebbe which founded and revealed this new level of Chassidus Chabad. So you needed the Alter Rebbe. You needed the Alter Rebbe for this. L'zaina neshama chadasha, and the Alter Rebbe was a new neshama that came into the world, ki yedua, as it's known. And this idea of a neshama chadasha, which is explained in Lekutei Torah, refers to a level of a neshama that's not included with all the neshamas that were there in the neshama of Adam Rishon. So you need a very high level of a neshama to bring about this great accomplishment of Chassidus Chabad. So it must be that Chassidus Chabad is not just about carrying down what's there already in the general Chassidus, but it is something, a tremendous Chiddush here. Biz wird angerufen wie der Baal Shem Tov HaMoer HaGadol Kanal. And the Alter Rebbe is referred to, similar to the Baal Shem Tov, as a greater luminary. So as great as the accomplishment was of the Baal Shem Tov when he brought Chassidus into the world, the Alter Rebbe, when he brought Chassidus Chabad in the world, he's no less. He's also a Moer HaGadol, a greater luminary. Similar, we could say regarding this aspect of the Avodah of Elul, that amongst all the different aspects of Avodah, so one of them is Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. Chach, as das is a prat from Klala Inyan de Elul. Even though Ani l'doidi is only one of the details of the general Avodah of the month of Elul. Tuteroif, a chiddush ikri in dem klal. Nevertheless, there's something unique and there's something that's special and new and different than everything else that's in the month. When Allah Avedis von Elul and all other Avedis of the month of Elul, werden durch den getan auf a hecher and oifen, will all be done on a completely different level when it's done with this influence of the Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li. Valderech Chiddush Chassidus Chabad legabe un in Chassidus HaKlalis. Similar to what we said, that the Chiddush of Chassidus Chabad is much greater, something much newer here. There's something new that's brought into the world through Chassidus Chabad, and that Chiddush, it brings this Chiddush to Chassidus HaKlalis. It provides a whole different approach, a whole different light to Chassidus HaKlalis. Und das ist der Bier von den zwei Nischais Hanal wegen Chai Elul. So this gives us the general explanation of the two different versions of the Vart regarding Chai Elul. Das was Chai Elul is the Yom Haledes from Baal Shem Tov. The fact that Chai Elul is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov hat reingegeben Machayis in Elul. So that gives life and vitality into the Avodah of Elul in general, without specifying which aspect of Elul we refer to. Chassidus HaKlalis Gitarein Achayis Klali in Avodas Hashem. Because that's what Chassidus HaKlalis is. It provides a person with a general life and vitality in his Avodah. And here as well, regarding Elul, all aspects of Elul included as one, and equally get a new general energy of the Avodah of Chassidus, of the Chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov. Achayis v'snem tarum und nem durach alles sugi Avodah. This is a new energy that encompasses and permeates all different types of Avodah. That's why in the first version, it's not specified which aspect of Elul it's referring to. But then, because Chai Elul is also the day, the birthday of the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chassidus Chabad, which is more specific regarding the Aveda that you're doing, is hereingegeben geworden nach Chayes in der Aveda von Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li. Chassidus Chabad is specifically connected to the Aveda that's hinted in Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li, und durch dem, b'chol sugi Aveda, and then from there it also elevates and influences all other types of Aveda of Elul. Weil der Chiddush von Chassidus Chabad is verbunden b'miyuchad mit der Aveda kedlekaman. The Chiddush that Alter Rebbe accomplished by bringing Chassidus Chabad into the world is specifically and uniquely connected to this Aveda of Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li of Elul. So that was the second version, Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li, related to the birthday of the Alter Rebbe, which was the founder of Chassidus Chabad. So the Rebbe will explain this further and much better with the following introduction here. The Nekudas Achilok zwischen Chassidus HaKlolis, the Baal Shem Tov, and Chassidus Chabad, the Alter Rebbe. What is the point of the difference between Chassidus in general, the Baal Shem Tov brought into the world, and Chassidus Chabad, which the Alter Rebbe founded? So the Frierdiker Rebbe expressed this with a short saying, as follows. The Baal Shem Tov hat bewiesen, wie mit darf dienen dem Eibishten. The Baal Shem Tov showed us how one must, or one should, serve Hashem. Und der Alter Rebbe hat bewiesen, wie man kann dienen dem Eibishten. However, the Alter Rebbe accomplished even more. He gave us a pathway of how one can serve Hashem. That's the simple meaning and translation of what the Frierdiker Rebbe said. So from Pashtus HaLashon is mashma, from the simple words of what the Frierdiker Rebbe said here, it would seem as from Teres Baal Shem Tov, Veismen nor via Zoyes darf sein Avedas Hashem, that from the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, all he teaches you is how one should be serving Hashem or how one must serve Hashem. Aber nit dem derech wie me ken durchführen die Aveda bepeil. The Baal Shem Tov did not, however, give us a pathway how one could actually practically come to serve Hashem. That's what it seems like the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying. That's what the Alter Rebbe came for. It's tamua, but this is very difficult to say so. Wie shaykh zu sagen, how is it possible to say, as the Baal Shem Tov hat chas v'shalom nit bewiesen dem Weg wie zu sein an Oved Hashem bepeil? That the Baal Shem Tov did not show an actual path of how to be a servant of Hashem practically. On the contrary, the Baal Shem Tov hat aufgestellt a Ribbi Gadol von Talmidim und Talmidim Ovdei Hashem. The Baal Shem Tov established and taught many students and students of students that are servants of Hashem al pi derech Chassidus, according to the new pathway of Chassidus that he established. Far there is galas of Chassidus Chabad, even before the Alter Rebbe revealed the addition of Chassidus Chabad. And azayich Talmidav in Deiris La'achre, the additional students in later generations, euch die, was haben sich nicht ausgewählt, meise Sibbe, v'tam Shia and Chassidus Chabad. Those students in later generations, for whatever reason, did not study Chassidus Chabad and are not exposed to the way of the Alter Rebbe, but nevertheless, we have a pathway from the Baal Shem Tov. By Zay is given by those students that definitely was nitnar the idea via Zeman Darvdin in the Meibishn, not only knowing how one must serve Hashem, not Aveda B'Payil, Al-Pidak Chassidus, but they actually have an Aveda practically that they serve Hashem according to the ways of the Chassidus of the Baal Shem Tov. So, the question is, what's the pshat? What does it mean when the Frierdiker Rebbe says, as Dafke, the Alter Rebbe, ad bavizn vi me ken din in the Meibishn? That it's only if you follow the way of Chassidus Chabad, Alter Rebbe showed how one can serve Hashem. What is this supposed to mean? So we'll understand this with the following introduction. As geschehen wie me gefind benegea Teres Chassidus, just like we find regarding Chassidus in general, as frier is in nimshach geworden bei from klali Chassidus HaKlolis, that first Chassidus was revealed in the world in a general sense through the Baal Shem Tov, und danach ist sie herabgetragen geworden in Seichel Chabad, and then it was brought down into intellect, and the three aspects of intellect, and bepratius in more detail. We find that the development and the revelation of Torah is also in these two stages. What are they? The Eibishter hat gegeben Torah. Hashem gives Yidden the Torah. Torah shebiksav, the written Torah, on halachas haniglas lanu levaneinu, all the revealed halachas for us and our children, from Torah shebal peh, the oral Torah, zusammen mit die klali Torah, which comes along with all of the different rules of how exactly you learn and understand and expound Torah. Nidis shat Torah shebichsav nedreshes ban, all the different methods of how we expound the words of Torah. And also all of the other additional details that we find in Torah Shebal Peh, Vitzedarshanen and uplearning from Sukkim, all the different various ways of how we learn out things from Sukkim in the Torah, and wie sich eisig sein in oimik taimei halachas va'apilpul b'tamei chulu, all the different deep reasonings and the discussions that there are in the understanding the depths of Torah. All of this was given to Moshe Rabbeinu by Har Sinai. Und danach, durch der Limud Torah von Yidden, but then later, in future generations, when Yidden actually learned Torah, Leit die Klalei Torah, shenitnu leMoshe b'Sinai, according to the rules and methods that the Eibishter gave Moshe Rabbeinu by Har Sinai, werden es chadish, durch Zeir Yegiah, mit Zeir Seichel, so now every Yid, by learning Torah, could create novel ideas and could chidushim with their own work and with their own intellect, kama v'kama in yanim b'Torah, many different matters in Torah, oich chidushi halachis le'en keitz v'tachlis, to the point that there are chidushim in Torah in every generation, endless number of chidushim in Torah that come about through the Yidden that are learning Torah in all future generations. So on one hand, we say that all of Torah was all given to Moshe Rabbeinu, Torah Shebechsav, Torah Shebal Peh, with all the rules of how to expound Torah Shebechsav. But at the same time, though, the actual chidushim of how to bring it out and explain all the ideas in Torah and the endless halachas of Torah, this is something which is expressed and explained in all future generations. This is one of the explanations of the statement that Chazal tell us. Kol ma shetalmid vasik asad lechadish hakoil nitten leMoshe b'Sinai. When a student is mechadish something in Torah, he has a new novel idea in Torah, it's all already been granted by Hashem to Moshe by Sinai. It's really not new. That's what it seems like Chazal are telling us here. The lechaire is das astirim minei ubei. This expression is self-contradictory. If on one hand we're saying that it's all been given to Moshe Rabbeinu by Har Sinai, is das doch nit kein Chiddush? So then it's not anything new. How can we at the same time say that the future students, the learning Torah, are innovating and this is their own novel ideas? Additionally, we could ask on this Maimah Chazal, wie ist shaykh zu sagen? How would it even be possible to say, as Moshe Rabbeinu hat an azak kurzen zman, that Moshe Rabbeinu in such a short period of time when he went to receive the Torah in 40 days, durchgelernt kol ha-Torah kulo, that he learned all of the details of Torah, mit alle chidushim, with all of the ideas of Torah, von jeden Talmud vasik atzeif kol ha-Doros, of any student in all generations until the end of all time, Moshe Rabbeinu learned all of this in such a short period of time. How is it possible? How is it humanly possible? Especially the question here is, this even includes all the chidushim of Torah, also those chidushim that come from Hashem himself when Mashiach comes. The Torah that Mashiach will teach, that he'll hear from Hashem himself. And this is something that Mashiach will teach, which will be unlimited to a much greater extent of all the halachas that are being taught in all generations. And all of this is all nitten leMoshe b'Sinai. All of this Moshe Rabbeinu learned at that time period. How is this possible? So one of the explanations for this Maimah Chazal is based on what we said before. Moshe Rabbeinu hat mekabel gewen Torah shebiksav. He received from Hashem the Torah shebiksav, und Torah shebal peh mit alle klalei Torah, and also Torah shebal peh, which are all the different methods and rules of how you expound every word in Torah, via reiselen von zei kama v'kama pratim. So how you could learn out from Torah many details, al derech hapshat, haremes, vadrush, v'asoi, the 4 different ways of how to learn Torah, the literal understanding, the remes, the hints that there are, expounding, and the secrets. On the Talmud Vasik, and then every student in every generation that learns, every student, so he actually develops the ideas in every word in Torah using these methods that Moshe Rabbeinu received, bis zum dem prati, till he brings it down to an actual specific halacha, from dem klal, based on this method that Moshe Rabbeinu received from Hashem in how to learn and expound Torah. So therefore, is this a chiddush? We can consider what the student is learning and bringing to the surface, the new prat, the halacha, specific halacha, that's something new that Moshe Rabbeinu did not actually learn. Wie bald, as Moshe hat bepoilt dem inyan prati nit gelernt, since This specific halacha, which applies practically, this Moshe Rabbeinu did not actually learn. Obaloshan Chazal, as the Gemara tells us, as Moshe lehoye yideya the tile tilan shel halachas was Rabbi Akiva gedarshan. When Hashem showed the future generations to Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw Rabbi Akiva darshaning all of these mountains of halachas and even one letter of Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu was shocked and amazed, and he didn't even know these halachas. Even though Moshe Rabbeinu himself learned all of this, and it's Hakol Nitn LaMoshe Misinai, because the Eibishter gave Moshe Rabbeinu only the Torah Shebiksav with all the Torah Shebapeh, meaning all the methods of how to understand Torah Shebiksav, but the actual drashas and the actual halachas, that's for the Talmidei Chachamim in every generation. But on the other hand, those sins, as alle Chidushim in Torah, müssen sein gebaut auf die Klolim, was Moshe hat mekabel gegeben b'Sinai. It's all based on the methods and the rules that Moshe Rabbeinu received at Har Sinai. So every word that he received every word of Torah with its full depth that it really includes in it. In other words, those methods are methods that are showing you how you can see that these words contain in it a much greater depth. So if so, all of that depth that's going to be brought out to the surface later is all there in those words of Torah. It's all there, concealed in these words that Hashem gave Moshe Rabbeinu the Torah. So in that sense, it's nitten, it's given already to Moshe Rabbeinu. But at the same time, das was the Talmud Vasik Horevit, Ois mit sein Seichel zum Megala sein Aninium Pratif and Torah Shebapeh Leiti Klolei Torah. When you have a student that sits and learns and toils to understand, and with his intellect he reveals this specific idea of Torah, this is considered to be something new in Torah by bringing this to the surface. Und das wird an Inyan Ikri in Talmud Torah. This idea that he's mechadish in Torah is actually a very important aspect of learning Torah. The Yisayrim is not only is it an important aspect of learning, but even more so as is a chiyuv of kol ish Yisrael. This is an obligation on every single yid. Nit nur zu lernen, das was steht schon in Sfarim v'chulu, not only to actually learn what it says in Sfarim, nor oich lechadish. Every single yid has an obligation to innovate, heim ba'aloches, heim ba'godes, heim b'nigla, and heim b'nista. In every aspect, in every area of Torah, in halacha, in Aggadah, and the stories of Torah that you can see, or the deeper the Aggadahs, the drashas of the Torah, the nigla, the revealed or the concealed aspect of Torah, esoteric part of Torah. Every yid has an obligation to be mechadish in Torah. Und noch mehr, not only this, jeder yid hat a chelek in Torah, was darf mechadish sein. Every yid has his portion in Torah that he has to innovate in. Was in them is tali the shleimus von sein nefesh. To complete his soul in his Aveda in this world, that's what it depends on. Through Torah, through being Mechadish in that specific section of Torah that belongs only to him. So this is what we see over here, Benegay to Torah B'chlal, the way Torah is revealed in the world, that it begins with the Torah being given in general to Moshe Rabbeinu, with all of the methods in Torah, which really means that it contains in it all that depth and wealth of Torah, the endless wealth of Torah. It's all already there given to Moshe Rabbeinu, but it's concealed. And then the Talmud Vasik, every student in every generation that learns and brings out and develops, that's a chiddush that he brings regarding the specific halacha that he's teaching according to these methods of Torah. Similar we could say is the synonym from Chassidus Chabad. Regarding the development and the chiddush of the Alter Rebbe, Chassidus Chabad, Rab Tragen Chassidus and Seichel, carrying down the ideas of Chassidus into intellect. What does this mean? As Chach, das is l'chayra a prat von Chassidus HaKlalis. On one hand, we could say that all of the ideas are there. The Baal Shem Tov brought it into the world, and it's just a matter of developing it and carrying it down into the details and bringing it into the world of intellect. However, this is something that's completely novel and a tremendous chiddush, much more than what there is there in the Chassidus in general that the Baal Shem Tov brought into the world. Similar to what we said regarding Torah, that what the student is learning and teaching in a specific halacha is considered to be a chiddush, something that's completely novel. But the Rebbe clarifies this further. You can still argue and ask, why is this new idea that the student is developing and bringing to the surface, the specific halacha, why do we refer to it as something that's completely novel? Yes, it's true. As Moshe had bepoil nit gelernt jeden inyan vidin in a pratis digenaifen. He didn't actually develop it fully. He didn't bring out from these methods that he had, that Hashem gave him, in the wealth of the Torah, in the words of Torah that he had. So he didn't develop it to the full detail of a specific application. However, at the same time, a chiddush amiti meint. What is the true definition of something which is completely novel? Meintach, so it means nit nar as izach as frier nit gewend begoli bepoil. Doesn't only mean that this is something that was not yet fully developed and fully revealed. Nar reich, but it also means as izafila bekayach nit gewend, that even in potential it's not there. That it's something which is completely new. That's the simple translation. Und wie bald, dass der Din Prati ist gewähnt kol behelem in Torah, wie Moshe Rabbeinu hat sie gelernt. So if so, since this specific halacha was included, it was concealed there in the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu taught, every word that he hadn't taught had in it the wealth of all of that chidushim that are there later. Was the farzak men kanal hakol nitten leMoshe b'Sinai, and therefore we say that everything has already been fully given to Moshe Rabbeinu by Sinai. Is vi ruft men das fort on b'shem chidush. So the question still remains, how can we consider it to be a real chiddush in the true sense of the word, that this is something completely new? Is the bead in them b'derech hefsher? So possibly we can say that the explanation for this is as follows. That Torah chiddush, the expression of chiddush that we say here, that every student is being mechadish in Torah, something new, is nit tazoi mitzad hefzer. This doesn't relate so much to the object or to the subject of Torah that we're referring to. The inyan hanilma, the subject of the Torah that you're learning. As their inyan is anayis, that this actual subject, this actual specific halacha is something that's completely new. Was is free and it given that did not exist before, because that's not the case. Nor be'iker mitzadin gavra. But it refers primarily, this expression of chiddush refers specifically or primarily, that is, to the person learning. Adam halaymet. That inyan in Torah Shabbat Peh, via is kolol in Torah. This idea of Torah Shabbat Peh, this new specific halacha, as it's included in Torah, wie es gegeben geworden bis Sinai, when it was given bis Sinai, is a fazayfil behelem. It's so concealed in the words of Torah, bis as kanal, to the point as a film Moshe was had gewusst, alle klole va'ifane limud haprat min haklal. Moshe Rabbeinu, that was given and knew all of the different methods of how to develop the words of Torah, to take it from the general word and to expound all the details that are there in this. Loi hoya yedeya ma hein naimrim. As the Gemara describes before regarding what he saw in Rabbi Akiva Darshan, he did not know what the words say. He did not see all of these specific details in this one specific word. So it's not just concealed and you just have to look a little bit at the word, and using these methods you'll be able to see what it means. It's concealed to the extent that Moshe Rabbeinu himself did not know what it is. So therefore, on dem prats kumen lideis galos, so when you have this detail that is developed and revealed from the word in Torah, is an oivtu was gehört im Ganzen zum Talmud Vasik. So therefore, in that sense, for the person learning, since for him, looking at this word, all you see is just the word itself. And now he has to come and innovate and find this idea, this deeper idea, and the detail that's there hidden in this word. So for him, this is considered to be something completely new. Und der Rebbe heißt es a chiddush from the Talmud Vasik. So as far as the person is concerned, from what he saw before in the word, and not through his hard work, what he was able to reveal in this word of Torah, the detail that he took out of it, is something that's completely new for him. It was not available for him to see it in there at all. And now he brought it out. Absolute chiddush. Because over here, it's not that you look at the word itself. The word itself is sort of assisting you to bring out this idea. The word itself lends itself to this idea that you then developed. The idea is so concealed in the word that the work of this student to develop it is all his. He is taking it and innovating from this word, this new idea in Torah. So regarding the work of the person, this is considered to be b'koyach atzmai, that it's all him that is doing this work. By using his intellect, is this mitzad im an inyan chodesh mamash. So for him, the work that he does to reveal this is totally all attributed to the work of the person that revealed this idea in Torah. So for the gavra, for the person, this is completely something new. Das ist euch eine von die Timen. This itself is also one of the reasons for was die Shleimus HaNefesh is taloi in dem Inyan von L'chadish, Seichel, Chadish, and Torah. Why it is that, as the Alter Rebbe, we quoted before, the Alter Rebbe says that to complete a person's soul in this world, it's dependent on this, that a person has to be mechadish, a person has to innovate new novel ideas in Torah. Why? Why isn't it enough just to learn Torah, and it's necessary for everybody, and it's an obligation to be mechadish in Torah? So the reason is, the emes inyan from Seichel is, what's the true concept of really understanding something, grasping an idea? Is as the inyan sichli, that by Adam musig v'nitvest. When you have something that's an intellectual idea that the person fully grasps and understands it. See, he fully gets it, which means nit durch dem was hat zweite. Wenn man glaubt, it's not by the fact that you have a teacher or somebody else which you fully trust, farzichetim is assuring you as that Indian is as that this is so, and he's telling it to you, and even if you don't fully get it on your own, but there's a certain level of trust that's there anytime you're accepting something from someone else, even when you understand it, but nevertheless, it's not yours. So therefore, you're accepting what another person is teaching you. Nor, what's the true idea of understanding? When a person that's learning and he with his own understanding and his own intellect, and he understands that this is so, it's his idea. That's the idea of a chiddush, that he is being mechadish. He's saying his own idea that he came up with and understands that it's so, and not accepting it and being taught by anybody else. Und the third is the shleimus von Seichel and the meaning from the chadish. So therefore, what's the shleimus of learning Torah with your intellect that you fully grasp it when you innovate in Torah? Was weiß, because that indicates as that is gekommen to me in sichli in ganzen bekoyach atzmikana. So that makes it clear that what you are understanding here is fully your understanding, not just receiving it and trusting somebody else in this idea here. Vibalt, as the tachlis von Talmud Torah is, so since the whole purpose of learning Torah is, as the Seichel Adam soll nisachet werden mit Chachmasi Yisbarach b'yichud nifla, as the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that learning Torah is not just something external, like a mitzvah, which you do in an action, but it's actually to unify yourself with Torah, with a wondrous unity, that the Torah you learn becomes yours, that this is your understanding and your opinion. So therefore, to complete your soul, which this is only reached through learning Torah, this is accomplished when a person doesn't just learn and listen as a student from someone else that's teaching him a subject, but that he himself comes up with new ideas in Torah. That's the full understanding and grasping an idea of Torah, that it's fully yours. Das is eigentlich the Chelek. So now, based on what we explained over here regarding the Torah Shebechsav and the Torah Shebal Peh, so this is also the difference in them. The Torah is gegeben geworden l'mayla. The difference between the Torah as it was given from above, when the Eibishter gives Yidden the Torah, wie sie wird danach gelernt durch Yidden, and then the way Yidden in all generations study Torah on their own. So the pasuk says, "Lekach toiv nasati lachem." Hashem says, "I gave you a good portion, and that's the Torah. Matan Torah, Neisnat Torah." The Eibishter gives Yidden the Torah. So what does all this emphasize? Is that Ikerat Goshe, the main emphasis over here is Vidalosha Nesina. That's what the term Nesina means, to give, to grant. The Nesina Mulmaila, that Hashem is giving it from above. You're just a recipient, receiving it as a gift from above. Biz, as it's can come in der Nesina, and the way this gift of Torah is given to a Yid, in what manner does it come to a Yid? Al derech v'mizet, by a Rav, a Talmud Olamata. So we can see this by a teacher and student here in this world. Wenn beim Rav leicht am Seichel mit dem ganzen Eirech, Reiche, V'oimek, the teacher has this idea, which is shining, which he has it fully illuminated in his brain with all of its breadth and length and depth. But then when he comes to teach the student, how does he teach him? B'lashon Chazal, the expression that it says in the Gemara, b'derech ketzara, he teaches him concisely. He compresses all the ideas in a few words. Agittem talmudim kitzer. He just gives him the idea in concisely, the nukudas haseichel on pratim, the point of the idea without developing the full breadth and depth of the idea with all of the details. The nukuda isn't zich takakoilol ala pratei haseichel. When a teacher teaches a student and he compresses everything and gets the point of the idea across to the student, so it really includes in it all of the details. Aber, but you don't, however, notice at all one detail and another detail as it is for itself and the specific applications of the different halachas. You see just a certain concept, a certain rule, or a certain one idea that the teacher is teaching you. That's when it's being given. So you've been given fully, but at the same time, though, the recipient that received it does not feel like it's his because he doesn't even see at the details at all. It's coming from above to below. But then after the Torah is given, including also when it's being taught from a teacher to a student, is the ikir. So now what does the student have to do here? The main idea is the avone v'asage oklite, the understanding, the grasping, and the absorbing from inyane Torah in adam hamakabel halaymet. The person that received this and that's learning, that's studying this idea should now make it his, that he should learn this. So that an idea that you were taught by your teacher should become fully absorbed in the student that's learning this. You're going to have to take it, make it your own, and develop the ideas, the specific details that are here in what you've been taught. And when he understands and grasps every detail separately, so now this becomes his, this becomes absorbed through the details. So now even that general idea, the general point that he already had received before, now he will fully receive it. Now it'll become fully his, even though he's already been granted and taught this idea before, but until he develops the details, even that nekuda is not really fully his. It should be b'shleimus, it's by revealing the details here. The bedugma from Fashtena Mishnah, like when you take a Mishnah which teaches one halacha, one concept, vizi is b'derech ketzara, which is being taught in one idea concisely, la'imka u b'shleimusa, that you only have the full depth and you only really understand the Mishnah itself properly, is das dafke noch lernen und verstehen v'koilet sein. So it's only if you learn and understand and absorb li'iyuna, with deeply analyzing this idea, was damalt is das Torah sight. And then as the Gemara says, the Torah you learn becomes your Torah, kol prate ariches adinim v'ashakal v'tari v'chulu, by seeing all of the details of the halachas and the discussion and so on, v'lechazenim b'raisa, which are brought out in the braises, sugiyas hashas v'chulu, in the Gemara, of their Mishnah, that is explained regarding this Mishnah. So we can see this regarding the way it's in Torah Shabbat Peh itself. When a person learns a Mishnah and when you learn the Gemara and then the Paiskim and the Rishayim and the Achrayim and everything else, that for it to become yours, you have to learn it with all the details, and then even the Nekudah, you have it b'shleimus as yours. B'dugme lezeh yeshleima, so now similar to all of this we can say, oich techiluk zwischen Chassidus HaKlalis and Chassidus Chabad. The difference between the Baal Shem Tov that brought Chassidus in general in the world, and then Chassidus Chabad. The Gilui from Chassidus HaKlalis durch in Baal Shem Tov. When the Chassidus HaKlalis, the general Chassidus that the Baal Shem Tov brought into the world, is the Ikad Gosha Bezeh. What was the main thing that the Baal Shem Tov brought into the world? Vizikut Malmaila. This is a revelation from above. Mi'akadosh Baruch Hu, tzaddikim shedaimim lebayram, whether a revelation drawing down from Hashem, or the tzaddikim that were brought into the world, which are similar to their creator. So therefore we could see this in the nature of what the Baal Shem Tov spoke about and what he brought into the world. Is eine von die Hauptadgashes von Chassidus HaKlalis auf an Inyan Amunah. One of the main things that were emphasized by the Baal Shem Tov in Chassidus was the Amunah, the belief that every Yid has in Hashem. The power of that Amunah. Tzaddik b'emunasa yichya, based on the pasuk that says that a tzaddik lives with Amunah. V'samunah, so now if you think about what Amunah is, the belief a Yid has in Hashem, is nit a zach, was wird aufgetan durch den Menschen. Amunah is not based on something that the person reached. It's not based on his understanding, it's not based on any of his feelings. Nor zikut mul maila. The Amunah of a Yid in Hashem comes from above. That every Yid has an neshama that sees and is connected to Hashem above, and therefore it naturally and instinctively has the faith in Hashem. Kailul oich me'av milaben or rav letalmid, and also this is something that's handed down from generation to the next, from a father to child, or from a teacher to a student. Ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, as the Gemara says, the expression that Yidden are believers, the sons of believers. So this is something which is natural and intrinsic to the existence of a Yid. Und der Adam is a makabel. So in this sense, the person is just a recipient that has and gets this amunah from above. That's the main emphasis of the Baal Shem Tov that revealed in the world this kayach of amunah that comes from above. Nachdem was der Alte Rebbe hat abgetragen Chassidus in Chabad, Seichel Adam. The Alte Rebbe, however, brought down Chassidus into Seichel, into intellect. It's gegeben geworden der Efshari is, so this gave every Yid the possibility, ubemele the Drisha, and therefore this is also demanded of every single Yid. As the Inyanim von Chassidus sollen werden move on, that all of those matters that are there in Chassidus should become understood, bis niklat werden, in mention. It should become completely absorbed in the entity of the person, by not just being a recipient and learning from a father or from a teacher, from a previous generation, but also on your own, with your own koyach, adding your own flavor to this. It should become your own opinion, that you understand this and you get this. When a Yid works hard, he toils to understand the deeper dimensions of Torah, Torah's Chassidus, the things that are there in Chassidus. Bis as das legt sich bei ihm up to the point that this is something that it resonates in its mind. Neisef mitzad amunah, not only that he has the simple faith that this is of course all true, but mitzad zayin hasagas haseichel, that he's able to get this and comprehend it with his own intellect. So this brings a tremendous advantage as the chayis and avedis Hashem. Was im kum zu durch dem. So now the life and the vitality that he'll get in his aveda through comprehending and understanding what he's doing on his own is an oiftu from dem aveda adam avid. So now we can attribute all this to you. This is your chiddush. Now all of your aveda is your aveda, not just as a recipient from above. Azach was erat machadish gewen durch sein yegia, something that he himself innovated, and it's his accomplishment through his work. Similar to the point that we said before regarding the Torah, that on one hand it's nitten l'moishem b'sinai, but at the same time, the fact that there's an aveda that every Yid that learns innovates this idea and brings up this idea in Torah, we say that because it's all his work, so it's attributed to him, so too the aveda of a Yid is attributed to him when he understands and he makes the aveda his, it's his opinion, it's his work. So therefore, this idea here, die Nesinis Koyach, soll kennen machadisch sein und öftan in Aveda pichsidis bekoyach atzmai. This accomplishment that a Yid, on one hand, a Yid is all just accepting from above. He's a makabel. It's the simple faith in Hashem. But that a Yid should have the koyach to take that simple faith and transition it into his mitzias, into his entity, and it should become his. This itself is the biggest chiddush that he creates out of this Aveda, which is really all just following, but not only to be a follower, but then to make it his own. So this Chiddush is gemusst nisgale werden durch eine neshama chadasha dafke. This is such a tremendous novel idea that it could only be created in this world through the Alter Rebbe, which was a new neshama that came into the world. So now this brings us back to the Vart of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Das ist euch, was Kvektushes Meir V'chami ad Murad gesagt. This explains the Vart of the Frierdiker Rebbe said. As the Baal Shem Tov had given Bavizin, wie man darf dienen dem Eibischen. The Baal Shem Tov revealed and showed us how we must serve Hashem. Und the Alter Rebbe had Bavizin, the Alter Rebbe showed wie man can dienen dem Eibischen. He demonstrated and gave a pathway how one can serve Hashem. What is the difference between these two expressions? So now we'll get a deeper understanding of darf and ken. The Chelek zwischen wie man darf and wie man can is the difference between what one must do or should do, or what one can do, is as follows. In Vimendarv, when you say that this is what you must do, this is what you should do, what you're really saying is that Goshe of dominion, Vimendarv ist ton, weil wird gemont, wird gemont, mil maila and kunt mil maila. This is something which is demanded of you. This is something that is being told to you that you must do it so. And it's not something that you are creating on your own, but it's a demand from above. Vimen can is madgish. However, the expression of how one can serve Hashem, that emphasizes the yechaylis adam in a minyan. Over here, we're saying, what we're referring to is, we're emphasizing what are your abilities in this? What's your contribution here? Das was can öftan b'koyach atzmai, the power that a person has on his own to do. So avade opshite, it's obvious as chidus haklalos had aufgetan avede b'payil. It definitely accomplished and gave a pathway for actually serving Hashem api darke chidus according to the ways of chidus. Und nachman, even more so, the chayis from chidus haklalos the life and vitality that you get from Chassidus in general, nem durch den Menschen bis in alle Vedas Paratis. This will permeate a person and it'll affect everything he does, even practically and specifically the things that he does. And daven and the learning, the davening that is learning, the learning, Ma'aseh mitzvahs, the mitzvahs that he does, bis kol masecha, including also all of your actions. Every person's private things that he does are all permeated by the life that Chassidus gives a person, even Chassidus HaKlalis. If you allow the life of Chassidus to penetrate all of this, so it elevates everything to a completely different level with a whole new level of life. So definitely that was accomplished already through the Baal Shem Tov. But however, since this is Achayis was Kupul Maila, this is all what's being granted from above. Mitzad Emunah, meaning that it's all based on igniting the faith of a Yid, which is the faith that comes from above. Is das Achayis Kloli. So therefore the nature of this kind of life in your Aveda is general. It's a general faith that influences everything you do, that it's all connected to this Emunah in the Eibishter. Was nehmt darum, und nehmt durch alle Prate Adam b'shave. So therefore it encompasses and permeates everything that you're doing with that one equal simple faith in Hashem, and it's not, there's no focus here on any specific accomplishment in the detail that you're doing right now. It's all just based on receiving from above, this amunah that influences everything you do. Es hält sich nicht an dem Inyan v'teichen miyuchad. You don't sense over here the specific accomplishment and the specific content that there is from dem praten Avedas Hashem, of this specific detail that you are doing right now. It's all details and parts of the whole, which is the faith of a Yid that comes from above. And we could see this very clearly when it comes to the idea of, to the concept of belief in Hashem. As the chayis, was he bringt rein in the pratim von Avedas Hashem, the life that it will invigorate a person in everything he does and all the details of Avedas Hashem. So what kind of a life does it give? Is nit mitzad dem teichen prati von jeder Aveda. It doesn't show you and give life in the specific detail of this, of the content of what this Aveda is about. No mitzadem was the mensch bechlala is the menasa yichya. It's the general attitude and approach of the person in everything that he does equally, that he's connected to Hashem. He's living with this faith in Hashem. So this influences automatically everything he does, that it should be with life and geschmack. So, but it doesn't specifically bring out the Aveda that you're doing right now, presently. However, the Alter Rebbe opened up a new pathway and showed how one can serve Hashem. What this refers to is how a person has the power to create a life and energy in his Aveda, that it should be his, that it's his own Aveda, that's B'koyach Atzmai. And this is by a person working to understand with his own intellect, to actually say that I understand what I'm learning over here. So then what happens is, the way this influences the person is that every specific Aveda that you do, there's something new about this Aveda. There's something that you appreciate it and you see and that you live with in the specific Aveda that you're doing now. So therefore this is considered to be something that's completely new. Even with the whole chayis that you have with a munah, but nevertheless, now you have a completely new dimension of chayis that you find in the specific Aveda that you are accomplishing right now, that you find in this specific Aveda that you're involved in. So on one hand, Alter Rebbe is only developing and carrying down what the Baal Shem Tov brought into the world, taking the Amun into the world of Seichel, intellect, but at the same time, bringing it into the world of intellect is not just bringing it down a level, but it creates a whole new opening of the person attributing everything he's doing to himself and getting personally involved in it, that it becomes his. And that's a tremendous chiddush. So based on all of this, we can understand the two versions, the two different levels of life and the vitality that Chai El brings into the Aveda of El. Based on the life that Chassidus HaKlalis gives, so this brings the general life into the Aveda of El. In Allah Sugi Aveda Kanal Sefalaf and Beis, in all types of Avedas, and an Eifen, as the Prati Aveda, herren sich nicht an wie besondere Inyanim. Since it's all just about the Emunah, so therefore the details of what the Aveda consists of do not stand out each separately. The content of what this specific Aveda that you are doing is right now. It's just all riding on the general koyach and energy of Emunah. In Pashat Verter, to put it in simple words, in the Cheshbon HaNefesh v'Zayid mach b'Chodesh Elul. Chodesh Elul is the month of a Cheshbon HaNefesh. A person takes an account and makes a calculation regarding what's going on in his life in the month of Elul. So mitzad anal, so based on this koyach of Chassidus HaKlal, the Emunah v'Yid, trachte be'iker wegen sein matzav klali in Avedas Hashem. The main thing that he's focusing on is, where do I stand? Where do I stand generally speaking in my Aveda? Meaning, mustak machna cheshbon parati. He does have to go through the details of everything that has happened in his life in this past year. If you're just ignoring the details, so then you don't have a proper account of what's going on with yourself. So when we say over here that we're talking about a general cheshbon and the general avodah of chassidus, that doesn't mean that you miss details. So then it's just not being honest. But even if you do go through all the details, but when you take all these details, what is it that the person is focusing on? So what's the general condition of where I am? What is the bottom line? Where do I stand today? Am I properly connected to Hashem? Or maybe not. So the main Aveda is all focusing on the general standing of where a person is. That's the approach of Chassidus HaKlalis. The Alter Rebbe, but then the Alter Rebbe hat aufgetan dem Iyim von Aveda in Chassidus b'koyach atzmai. Alter Rebbe gave a Yid an Aveda and a pathway through Chassidus, Chabad, that you can come and serve Hashem, to make it yours. And this is my Aveda. Areingebracht achayis in der Aveda von Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. And this, the Friedrich Rebbe says, is specifically by the fact that Alter Rebbe brought life into the Aveda of Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. What do you see here in this pasuk that's connected to Chassidus Chabad? Was this order in this pasuk? Frier Ani l'doidi. First, it's I that turned to my beloved. Und danach v'doidi li. And only after that does Hashem respond to me. Weißt of der Aveda was hauptzucham mit einer sarusa de l'sata. This is pointing to an Aveda which is specifically coming from the inspiration from below. Und der Kiro von Eibishter zu in v'doidi li. And then the fact that Eibishter responds and comes close to the person, wird aufgetan b'yoser u'b'yoser. So now this is much greater. The response of Hashem is much more v'bald as kum durch sein Aveda, since it all begins from below. The koyach of Chassidus Chabad, where it's you understanding and making the whole Aveda yours. Zayin Gaita, it's your work. Was peilt bei sich b'koyach atzmai der ani l'doidi, that the person is working and accomplishing on his own his connection to Hashem. Das tut a chayis chadash and alle sugi Avedas in Chodesh Elul. This approach of Chassidus Chabad, when you make it your own, and it's a specific Aveda that you're connecting to, and you're bringing it out from your own seichel, so this sheds light on all the other Avedas of Chodesh Elul as well, as a alle werden getan in an Eifen von Ani l'doidi, that all of the Avedas are done with this approach of Ani l'doidi, which is the Aveda b'koyach atzmai, a person serving Hashem, making it his, that it's my Aveda, which is the special innovation and chiddush of the Alter Rebbe of Chassidus Chabad.